We're going to be discussing Nigeria's ICT sector, a report being released by the Office of the Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy. As far as GDP is concerned, the growth rate with the focus on the ICT sector, June 2024, showing that despite growth, the industry has experienced, I guess, a seasonal dip in the first quarter of 2024. So the report did note that available data from the Bureau of Statistics on GDP and information, last ICT, as you see Bosu Tijani's tweet there, saying that they had to clarify a few things. Nominal GDP 7.1 trillion in Q3 2023 to 8.35 trillion in Q4. The report, however, stressing that it is important to note that despite the fall, nominal value in Q1 2024 is still 10.81% higher than where we were in Q3. Frank Eleanya, senior reporter, editor over at Techabal. He's with us to talk about the ICT sector. Frank, it's good to see you again. Welcome to the show.
Good to see you.
Good evening, good evening, good evening.
Thank you.
Look, man, ICT, there is, I got my phone here, I got my laptop. Without the ICT, none of these things will work. Exactly. I don't even think the viewers can watch us without it. What do you make of the sector growth? I know it's nominal. If you take out inflation and stuff, you get real GDP growth. But what's your take? What's your assessment?
Okay, so I looked at what the minister said, and I think that, in a way, is this reality? He is sort of trying to give us a little bit of something that looks good and all that. And I think, to some extent, he's done a lot, just to try to move that sector forward. But if we're going to go by the numbers, we have a decline in Q1.
Yeah.
And then as at Q4, what we had was 16.6% growth. Okay. The reality is that from Q2 to Q3 to Q4, Q2 was the highest, where you had about 19%, slightly above 19%.
Yeah.
And then it declined to 15% in Q3. And the next we have in Q4, a little growth to 16%, and then it declines again in Q1. So you see that back and forth, up and down,
yep,
growth in that sector. It tells you that it's sort of flat if you look at it.
Yeah.
It doesn't tell you whether we're making progress or not making progress. If anything, we're not sort of making a lot of progress if we're looking at 19% in Q2.
Yeah.
All right. So if in Q1 2024 we're back down there, it means that a lot more needs to be done. And I think that is what the priority should be for the minister, to look at how do we have sustainable growth over a period of time. So we've had back-to-back fluctuations in the industry, and all of that is going to come from what he does to the golden child of that sector.
What's the golden child?
The telecommunication industry.
Hey,
yes.
Wasn't that an Eddie Murphy movie? Something with the kid with the golden child, something came out anyway in a long time. I'm showing my age. So, okay, so look, how much of this is an infrastructure story, right? Yes. How much of this is power, costs of doing business, and the like? So when we think about the golden child telcos or the sector at the macro view,
a lot of it is a result of a lack of infrastructure investment. In 2022, there was a massive decline. Okay, so the peak of investment was in 2021, where we had about over 1 trillion naira in investment,
yeah,
over $1 trillion actually in investment. Now it dropped drastically in 2022. Okay. Sorry, 2020 was the peak, yeah, all right? Then 2021, there was a drop to over $700 million.
Yeah.
And then in 2022, we had over half decline to about over $300 million. Okay. Now, 2023 results are not out, but we know what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere, because if you ask the people in the market, they didn't quite do anything in 2023. And if we're coming into 2024, where the economy has been what it is for everyone, we're not seeing a lot happening. We have so far 5G licenses that were issued. okay? And you would have expected by now that you start seeing a lot of activities going into building up new cell sites, new base stations coming up and all that. All of that is not happening at the moment because operators are not incentivized enough to want to build anything at the moment. If anything, we have seen what their report looks like. You've seen MTN, you've seen Airtel's report, and you saw the decline that both of them had, and then also the decisions that both of them had to take. For MTN, they're about telling us that $7 billion, they're going to save $7 billion, okay? And what that means for the market is that the capital expenditure that we were expecting that they would have put into the Nigerian market, that's a time when they promised about 500 billion that they were going to invest over a period of 3 to 5 years in Nigeria. That has sort of been paused because the company is just looking for ways, to survive. The same thing with Airtel. Airtel, for a long period now, has been doing a buyback share.
Right.
Okay, so all of that is to reduce its exposure to debt. Okay, so if the major operators are not doing the heavy lifting, it means that we don't have much to work on, which is why your phone, the quality of internet that you're getting currently is very, very low because, and you can't do anything about it anyway. Because they too can't even do anything about it too. If you complain to them, they will tell you to go complain to NCC, and NCC for whatever reason don't seem to have the kind of mettle that they should have, to move and say we need to solve what the challenges are for these operators, and the challenges are many, and they know them, But then we have a new minister who says, okay, look, guys, I have an idea as well. I want to deploy 90,000 kilometers of fiber over a period of time, and I will require $2 billion to make that happen. So what does he do? You would have thought that why not go to the telcos and say, you already have your investment, you have subsea cables lying here and there. Those 90,000 kilometers of fiber will come from those subsea cables. Because you're talking about terrestrial fiber going all across the country. All right? So if you give them what they're looking for, which is right of way, make right of way, say 145 naira, or we've heard some states say we're removing everything entirely.
I'm glad you mentioned the states.
Yes.
So it's not a state. You see, I'm really happy with how the conversations this week have gone with the focus on the states. President Tinubu is talking to the states. We understand about the minimum wage matter. I think whenever we're having all these discussions, it should be disaggregated to the states. So right of way, that's one state could charge one thing, another could charge something else, right? I know ICT State has looked at reducing their costs. Other states have that, so maybe Zamfara or some others, but that's where the issue is, right? At least that's part of one of the problems, yeah?
Yes.
All right, well, go on. I mean, there's also the other costs as well.
Yeah, but just to expatiate on the state angle, I think what has happened over the years is that the federal government has sort of played away from the state. What do I mean? They create these policies, and there's no effective communication down to the state. If they think about the state, what they think about is the governor, and not the commissioner of communication. So I've not heard a certain time when they brought all the communication commissioners or technology commissioners in a room and say, look, we need to move. We need to move the needle. We haven't done that. We recognize that you guys need revenue, but is there a creative way for us to make all of this happen that will be mutually beneficial for everybody? The telcos win, we also win, and everybody sits down. Maybe for a whole day, we're not going out until we solve this problem. But it hasn't been given that sort of urgency, that sort of priority. And so because of that, commissioners don't have anything to report back to the governors when they are asked, look, should we remove right of way or should we not remove right of way? That one says, maybe charge them 1,000. That one says 3,000, And the decisions that were made at NEC, National Executive Council, hasn't quite been binding on the governors also, because that decision of 145 was made at the NEC, I think that was in 2003, all right? So it's been over 20 years, and it has not been implemented. Okay, so it just tells you how much significance they pay to it. So that's where you would have expected that the ministers that have come over the years will do a lot more to engage the governors. I think there was a bit of a movement in the previous administration where that minister sort of every time is always talking to the governors, and all that, but it could have been better. Yeah. Okay, it could have been better, and it could have been properly handled, but it is what it is. But here we are. How are we going to solve right of way? And then how are we going to solve multiple taxation for the telcos? As at today, you and I sit here, they pay about 42 different taxes to federal government, to state government, to the local government, all right? And most of these taxes are arbitrary. I mean, you're trying to dig and lay fiber that would benefit a community. Then one local government comes and says, oh, no, if you don't do another. The other day we heard that some touts or some state officials cut off the wire and seized it and said they were not going to release it until the telco comes and pays them a certain ransom money.
A ransom for the cables.
Ransom for the cables.
So they kidnapped the cables.
They kidnapped the cables. And then the other time also you heard in Kaduna, one government agency went and picketed a base station that belonged to several of the telcos, demanding 5.2 billion naira tax.
Not M, B, billion
tax, So if you keep having all of those issues, there are a lot more. Yeah. And of course, you've heard Gbenga Adebayo talk a lot about their prices not being reviewed for over 11 years. Yeah. Although the federal government is like, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, because electricity tariffs, fuel subsidies.
Exactly.
You don't want to burden people.
But then, if you're not going to do that, why not give them some incentive to say, okay, we know that you care for us, so because of that, we'll take this. But you're not giving them anything. You're just like, we're not going to do that. So whatever you want to do, go find yourself and all that. And then you hear people say, oh, but they're making money. They're making money. And you're wondering, are they not a business to make money?
Right.
You get. So there's a lot of things to handle. And that's what I think the operators in the industry sort of had expected, that this administration comes in and start immediately addressing all of those things, while also looking at these other new innovative things that they are doing, like AI and all that. Come to think of it, can you build an AI without internet?
Excellent question. No, you cannot.
You cannot. Yeah. So if your 5G is at 1% penetration, and the infrastructure that powers your 5G is not even fully developed, where is your AI going to come from?
Yeah, great question. Frank, this is a conversation that we need to have continuously. I appreciate you coming on. It really enlightens things. The telcos, in fact, I looked it up. It was the golden child, Eddie Murphy. Came out way back in 1986. That's an old movie. Frank Eleanya, senior reporter over at Tech About. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time.